to the Data Dome in Glasgow, Scotland. It's time for Kev Baker Extra.
Yes, indeed, we are back, and we are live on today's Kev Baker Extra right here on Aftermath.fm. And I'm coming to you live from under the Data Dome of Smart City Glasgow. We go all the way around the world from America to Australia, and today, thanks to Aftermath FM. Yes, indeed. And I've got a really good show lined up for you today. It's 1 a.m. over here in Scotland, and that means it is Halloween. Yes, it has arrived. And a big shout to everyone listening in America. Big shout to everyone down under, wherever you are. Thank you for being here. And like I said, I've got a really good show lined up for today, because today's guest is somebody who I've worked with closely for a while now over on Warrior Mode. But he is absolutely amazing in his own right, because he has a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the topic of the Mothman. Yes, that's right. I'm talking about my good friend Travis Shortt. He's here on the phone just now. He's hurriedly making his way home because he's been having a Halloween binge session. And we're going to learn all about that. Travis, how you doing, man?
It is so good to be on the show, Kev. I am great, my friend. Absolutely great. And yes, I am broadcasting from a mobile, undisclosed location. I am making tracks to get in front of a computer so I can join you on screen. I have been watching Halloween Kills, which is the most recent entry in the Halloween franchise. You and I were discussing it before we went on. Great stuff, but great to always join you. And as you know, I love to talk Mothman and all things spooky and all things woo, and we're going to have a great show.
Absolutely. And I've been calling this Black Pill October because everyone talks about the October surprise and dark winters around the corner. But you know, the darkening of the nights, the shortening of the days, and we're about to put our clocks backwards over here. It takes me back to when I was younger, Travis, and when my appetite for the paranormal was really peaked. When I was a young guy growing up in the Highlands, it would always be the winter's nights, the long dark nights, maybe during a power cut. The family would sit round, the candles burning, and we would get into the kind of topics that me and you are kind of trying to make a living out of. So this is my favorite time of year, dude.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, I'm the same, and the same thing is getting ready to happen here in the U.S. We'll set our clocks back, I think, next weekend, if I'm not mistaken. And same thing, you know, it's getting dark really early, stays dark a long time. Grew up the same way. We would sit around the fireplace, sit around, you know. Growing up in the middle of nowhere like I did in Virginia, we lost power a lot during the winter months. So, you know, we would have kerosene candles or lanterns, as you would call them in the UK, and the fire, and we would sit, and my dad would tell stories, and we would read and have a great time. And I love fall. It's my favorite season of the year. I love Halloween. And you know, growing up as in the household and the family that I grew up in with very, very strong, deep-rooted evangelical Christian beliefs, you know, sometimes not everybody that we went to church with liked Halloween. They frowned on it. They thought it was a bad holiday, but I loved it. I love dressing up. I love horror films. You know that. We've talked about it on Warrior Mode, the other shows. I mean, it is nothing for me to go to sleep on a nightly basis watching The Exorcist. My ringtone for my phone year-round is Tubular Bells from The Exorcist. That is my ringtone. Anytime somebody calls me, that's what pops up. Scares the crap out of people sometimes.
I like it. I like that, dude. That's a really good idea. And you know, in recent years, I've kind of been left feeling rather disappointed when it's come to the kind of TV shows, movies that would be really befitting a Halloween. But you know what? The past year or so, Travis, I've seen a real kind of improvement in and around the horror kind of genre. Netflix playing a huge part in that. And of course, we both recently enjoyed one of the hit shows that's just been on over there. It's still on now. And I really want to talk about this because this ties in with, I think anyway, your main body of research into the Mothman, because there's a TV show called Midnight Mass. And there probably will be some spoilers here, not major ones. However, on watching that, and my mum shared exactly the same feeling. You know, we've been working closely with Lon Strickler, and he's been talking about something
Yes.
called the unseen ones. And I put a lot of weight into what Lon's saying because of the time he's been a researcher, his credibility. And I see that it's taken Lon, it's a big jump for him to go down this road where he's communicating with these entities. I think there's something to it. And at the time, I thought it was maybe nothing
I
too
agree.
negative attached, Travis. But it could be confirmation bias, right? But when you watch Midnight Mass, I get the funny feeling that that could be something along the lines of what Lon is speaking to and about. And this is no criticism of Lon. It's just an observation of mine. And I hope I'm wrong. I fear that what Lon's talking to is akin to the Midnight Mass demonic vampire.
First of all, not that we're ever going to get any credit for endorsing a Netflix show, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you are a fan of, creepy horror, and honestly, I don't know about you, Kev, but I got a distinct Stephen King vibe from Midnight Mass. It had very much early Stephen King. It's a great show. It's by the same creative team that brought Netflix The Haunting of Hill House and The Haunting of Bly Manor. So it's the same director, the same producer, and a lot of the same actors that were in those. And it's got some very, very powerful visuals. And it's got probably some of the most powerful monologues that I've seen in a TV show in a long time. And I do not lie when I tell you there were 2 monologues in that show that brought me to tears as I watched that show. It's really well written, well acted, and it's beautifully shot.
Can I guess at one of them? Can I guess at one of them? Is one of them the female character when it kind of shows you her describing what death is? Yes,
it was.
Yeah, I was the same way, man.
I bawled like a baby.
Yeah.
I sat there on my love seat, my dog by my side looking at me like I was an idiot, wanting to know and I'm just sobbing because it was beautifully and powerfully written and powerfully delivered by that actress. She's an amazing actress. She was in Hill House. She was in Bly Manor. She's phenomenal. The other one is, and again, not to do too much of a spoiler, but when the town drunk is confronted by the young girl that he has injured.
Yep.
When she shows up and she delivers that speech about all the things that she has wanted to say to him for all these years, and she unloads all of that, but then she has a different message to give him. And it's just a very powerful interaction. But I highly recommend it for people. If you're looking at, I think there's only 6 episodes, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 7.
Yeah, it's one of the shorter kind of mini series, but
yeah.
And I want to tell the watchers as well, the listeners, give it a chance. It might be quite slow to begin with. I almost gave up about 1.5 episodes in, but when you look back and reflect on the series as a whole, you really need that time to build up the characters, because that's what truly makes it. The characters are so well written, I think, Travis.
They are, and I think, I think cautioning me early on, because when I watched it, I'm like, okay, this is, I got through the first 2 episodes no problem, because I was expecting it to be slow.
Yeah,
I was expecting it to be that build, and I think it's important that people get that. I'll say that opening sequence is also really powerful, with the main male protagonist after his accident, and that entire interaction and what has happened and what he deals with. And it really is a good show about sin and redemption and transformation. And I'm going to leave it at that, because the transformation is one of those things. You really get an idea the monsters on this little island have always been there. It's not just something that's surfacing now. This is just a transformation. This is an evolution for a lot of these characters. They become what they naturally are. And I think that's a very strong, it's very strong storytelling. And so I highly recommend it. But, you told me to watch it for that very reason, that it tied in with what Lon has been investigating and my investigations in Mothman. And there's 2 lines in the very first episode, and I'm like, okay, I see why. The town drunk is sleeping off a bender in the town jail, and he talks to the sheriff about having been chased by a giant albatross. And then there's a group of teenage boys who are out late one night, and you hear something swoosh overhead, and one of them describes it as a giant albatross.
Yeah.
And you get that sense there's a flying entity here. There's glowing eyes. It's very much, a lot of it is very much the story of Mothman in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. A lot of the things that ties in to this storytelling is deep rooted in the original first-hand eyewitness accounts of the Mothman sightings in 66 and 67 there in Point Pleasant.
And what do you make of the ongoing contact that Lon and others are having with these unseen ones? That's their name for it, not mine. I'm just calling them what they want to be called. I don't know what to make of that, dude.
I think my personal opinion, and this is personal, this is just me and you discussing, I think what Lon has stumbled upon is a continuation of what started in Point Pleasant in 66. I think what was taking place there was just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, because what Lon has got going on right now, I saw he did a post on Facebook. It was either yesterday or maybe earlier today. Countless sightings in Chicago at O'Hare of a winged humanoid. I think he's up to like 20 or 30 sightings here recently. And
if you go on to there's actually an interactive map that they've got going as well. And I started covering this when it was gaining some mainstream media attention back in 2017. Mainstream laughing at it because there'd been a spate of reports. And I thought it was just that, just an isolated kind of wave of incidents. And I wrote it off to hysteria, bit of LARPing around. But it's only since we started working with Lon, I've come to find that it was going on before that, and it's gone on ever since. And we're up to over 130 incidents in the past, I would say 5 years. That's a lot of incidents, right?
It is. I mean, you're talking about, the Mothman sightings in Point Pleasant, there were over 100 eyewitness sightings in 13 months. So there was a cluster for 13 months, and then there was the collapse of the Silver Bridge. You're talking about 130 over 5 years, but across a much broader area than what was taking place in Point Pleasant. I think that what we're seeing is a serious I don't want to necessarily use the term revelation, but that's kind of it's like these entities are really starting to make themselves known.
Yeah, this is what worries me, because I would find that if I had like a checklist of things moving into the end times, Travis, I always used to say to Bill, the paranormal will start to become normal. The supernatural, just everyone will accept it as a natural part of life. And when I now see esteemed researchers in contact with entities that are talking about coming forward, and there's another separate incident from this going on as well. I'm not too familiar with the names of the characters to kind of put it out there, but it's something similar. There's these entities that live underground. There's a cave. They're wanting to show themselves later in the year. They're in contact with researchers. It's that for me ticks one of the boxes when the cryptids are starting to make contact. Hey, It is what it is, right?
Yes. When you look at the end times and what we're supposed to be looking for, there are signs and wonders, and that's the English translation. It really is, that there's going to be bizarre things happening that we can't understand. In the skies is one, signs and wonders in the heavens, and then there's going to be things taking place here on the terrestrial plane as well. And I do believe, and have had this thought and this belief for a long time, is that all supernatural paranormal events are some way interconnected and interrelated, and they are going to play into or can play into that end time prophetic scenario.
Yeah, definitely. Now, talking of good content for watching this Halloween, you mentioned Halloween there. So is it worth taking the time to check out, or is this just one of these cheap and nasty adaptations for the modern day?
No, I highly recommend it. I am a lover of all things horror. I have been since a kid. One of my first memories is my dad was working in the coal mines, and he would work the evening shift. So he would go into work at 3 p.m. He wouldn't get home until 11 p.m. or midnight. On Friday nights, that was when I got to see him, because he was gone through the week. We were at school, so that was our opportunity to spend time together, to bond. So on Friday nights, we would watch TV, and at the time growing up, we had 3 networks. There was NBC, there was ABC, there was CBS, and that was it. CBS late night would run horror films, and one of the very first horror films that I remember watching as a kid, and I was probably 5 or 6 because it had come out the year I was born, is The Omen with Gregory Peck. And then I also remember watching in reruns Kolchak the Night Stalker with Darren McGavin. So I've always had a love for horror films. I don't like torture films. I don't like necessarily really bloody, gory. I don't like zombie movies. I've got maybe a handful of zombie movies that I like to watch, but I like true horror. That's something that is going to really reach down and kind of make you look around at night once the lights go out. And so Halloween has always been one of my favorite franchises. But John Carpenter, who created the Halloween franchise, has done something I think a lot of directors and screenwriters would like to do from time to time. He has basically wiped the slate. Anything that has taken place from a film standpoint, from Halloween 2 in 1980 or 1979 until now, he has gotten rid of, wiped the slate clean, and has literally picked up in 2018 with the new Halloween movie. And it's 40 years later, and Michael Myers is still incarcerated in Smith Grove Mental Institute and has been for 40 years. And the story picks up from there. So it's done in a very, very direct homage to the 1978 Halloween. John Carpenter is actively involved. Danny McBride is one of the directors and the producers, and it's really odd because McBride is known for his comedy work. He does a lot of comedy movies, but he has a love for the Halloween franchise, and they've really reinvented it. So you have Halloween in 2018. Halloween Kills just came out. It's streaming on the Peacock platform. And it's really worth watching because they brought back all of the original characters from 1978 with many of the original actors that created those roles. And they've just kind of continued their story. And it is definitely worth watching.
Oh, I'm liking the sound of that. And a couple of shows been shouted out from over on YouTube. We've got my friend Jason over here in the UK, big fan of the Hammer House of Horrors. Used to love that back in the day. Yeah, that was awesome. And then we've got Christopher giving a shout out to Tales from the Dark Side. Now, that might be an American one.
Oh, yes. We used to watch that show. Tales from the Crypt is good. Watched all the Creep Show movies here recently. Rewatched those, little vignettes. But I'm going back to your buddy with Hammer. I've got to say, my heart skipped a beat because, I remember I have had the biggest crush on Carolyn Monroe from the Hammer movies and The Golden Voyage of Sinbad and Dracula 80, 1970. Woman was beautiful, is beautiful to this day, is probably at the top of my list of of celebrities that I've had a crush on most of my life.
Yeah, it's allowed, Travis. It's allowed. It's definitely allowed. Yes, indeed. So, how about the kids this year? Are they going out? Are they getting dressed up?
Not this year. In the U.S., you can't trick or treat after the age of 13. So they're all home. Leah is having a sleepover with her squad. She's got all of her friends, Seb and Laura, and let's see, they call him Bro. Trying to remember what his name is. Can't remember. Can't remember Bro's name. They all have these little nicknames. TJ was playing his games like he does. Started college this year, so he's doing his thing. Leah's got her thing going on. We did a Halloween party last night at the restaurant where I handle the marketing. We had a great time. It was all kinds of fun. I, of course, went as I would as a priest. So I was, Father Shortt. I know it was great. It was all kinds of fun. I kept trying to turn my water into wine, and it didn't work, Kev. It did not work. I tried and tried and tried, and it wouldn't work.
I tell you, dude, if you ever master that little miracle, I will be hopping over the pond.
I know.
Yes, indeed.
I know, right?
Absolutely, man. So how's things going with Derek? Are you still doing the whole podcast with him?
He and I haven't had a show in several weeks. Actually, the last show we did, we had Tia Bell on. Tia's a sweetheart, love her to death. Give her a big shout out. She is in New Jersey. Wonderful individual. She's a psychic medium and practicing. I hate using the term witch, but she does practice and dabble in more spiritual and occultic practices, even though she is, by her own profession, a devout Christian. Former homicide detective there in NYPD's finest. Had a TV show on A&E for a while. We interviewed her. The show kind of went on hiatus after that, which has kind of been nice for me. I'm kind of been in a transition myself professionally with a new job and new career and trying to get all of that taken care of. But it's all been good.
You know, Travis, I've noticed this a lot around me as well. We know the world's changing. We all see that. We tend not to talk about that over here on YouTube. But on the microcosm of that as well, I see people totally, transforming, maybe even changing their perspective, their outlook, their job. It's like we're all going through this great period of change right now. And we opened up by talking about approaching these end times and, yeah, end of one cycle, start of another. But I don't think there's any coincidence there that as above, so below. We're seeing it across the whole spectrum, right? This whole change thing happening. And some people are going with it and they're actually transforming, no problem at all. And some people really struggling with it. And that's what, I kind of wrestle with, because I would love to live in a world where we can all sing Kumbaya and live happily ever after, Travis. We all want that, right? Mm-hmm. And it pains me to see other people in pain. But what would you say to people right now that are kind of struggling to get through these times that we're in right now?
And I agree totally with what you're saying, Kev. And I have experienced it, witnessed it, watched it firsthand, especially in the past 24 months through COVID and through the pandemic and the quarantine and the shutdown, and everybody's life got turned upside down. And people that way, I've got a friend in Florida. She is a marketing affiliate for Geico Insurance, and her job was to travel the country doing conventions and conferences and setting up booths at trade shows and getting people to sign on for, to get this insurance company to provide different benefits for different employee levels and things like that. So, I mean, she was flying the country nonstop. That had been her career for years. And all of a sudden it stopped, and now she's having to do meetings on Zoom and sitting in front of a computer all day. I've got friends who have been journalists, and they were used to going out in the field and interviewing people one-on-one and having that interaction. And now they have been, stuck at home with a green screen and a camera, and they do all the reporting from their apartments or from their houses, and they're not able to travel and they're not able to do anything. And it really has I think made a lot of people question and a lot of people grapple with who I am, what am I doing, is this what I want to do, how can I make this work? And so what I would say to people, in all honesty, is number one, by nature, I'm like a control freak. I want to control everything on my horizon. I don't just have a plan B or a plan C, but I've got a plan D and a plan E and a plan F. I've always had contingency plan upon contingency plan if something goes wrong. And I think what the pandemic and this change, this era of change that you talk about, a lot of people would call it the age of Aquarius, rebirth, a lot of things changing. I would tell people we really have to stop trying to control things. We got to take our hands off stuff, and we just have to let things unfold. And that's really hard, because by human nature, we don't like that. But I think, especially when it comes to careers, don't be afraid to start over. Don't be afraid to try something new. When it comes to relationships, don't be afraid. People that are stuck in miserable, abusive, emotionally and physically abusive, verbally abusive relationships that have no payoff, relationships that you're miserable. Don't be afraid to start all over. Don't be afraid to try something else, to try someone else, to try something new. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with going down that path, taking that journey to find happiness, to find success. Because at the end of the day, I was telling someone this yesterday, as a matter of fact. One of the things that I've discovered, Kev, is life is short. It's very short. And it is way too short to be miserable and to be unhappy and to be unfulfilled and to be controlled and manipulated. It's too short. You know as well as I, back in the spring, I had a cousin, one of my best friends was a first cousin, was my neighbor growing up, had been my lawyer. He dropped dead on a Sunday night at the age of 51 years old, had no health concerns, no health issues, no pre-existing conditions, nothing. Just dropped dead in the bathroom. Left a wife, left a daughter, left a mom, brother, cousins. I mean, life is short. And my advice to people is do not let life pass you by and settle for anything less than the best. Because quite frankly, that is what God, the universe, whatever how you want to view a greater power, that's what they want for us.
Travis Shortt, ladies and gentlemen. I could not have said that better myself. I see Jimmy Jeans is out there in the chat room. With that in mind, let me play this little intro, this little promo that Jimmy played, and then I'm going to tell you some of the other shows you can catch on Aftermath FM, and then we'll get back into it with Travis. Here we go.
Coast to coast, around the world, from under the Data Dome in Glasgow, Scotland, it's time for KBSXtra.
Yes, indeed. Got to thank Jimmy for that. Absolutely awesome. And Travis, I don't know if you've checked out aftermath.fm, but wow, dude, get a load of this. Some of the shows that you could catch on there are America Unplugged with my good friend Billy Ray Valentine, the coolest New York accent in alternative media. We've got Apollo's Odyssey with Apollo Astrea. We've got Conspirafact with Les or Wes and Bill. We've also got the amazing Ground Zero with the quite brilliant Clyde Lewis. We've got Clyde Lewis Classics as well. Good friend John Brisson, Gut Check. Mr. Gates with Haterazzi. You can catch that over there. And my good friend Jimmy Jeans. We've got Live from the Kill Shed with Billy Ray Valentine and John Brisson. And I'm going to be joining those guys one night real soon so we can take apart some of the clowns out there. We've got On Beyond Zero with Clyde Lewis and Ron Patton. Opposing Perspective with James F. Ponder. What a brilliant name. We've got Para-Awareness with Billy Ray Valentine and Mr. Gates. That Billy Ray Valentine gets around, doesn't he? We've got the Putting the Pieces
He
Together.
does. I love the name, too.
He is. It's awesome, isn't it? With Penelope. We got the Slow News Day with Steve Poikonen. Tarot Mood. Conspirazone. The David Knight Show, no less. Oh, look, the Infinite Fringe with Billy Ray Valentine. We've got my good friend Rob Davenport. And if you haven't listened to Rob and the Jungle Apocalypse, I used to listen to that show years ago. Fascinating stuff. Some dude called Kev Baker. We've got the brilliant Leo Zagami show. We've got the Paradigm Shift with Jai P. Bovenzi. Last but not least, my very good friend, what a guy, Ryan Gable. So yes, you can catch all of that on aftermath.fm. The Paradigm Shift will be coming to you live from New York right after today's Kev Baker show. When I'm finished talking to my good friend here, my man, Travis Shortt. So have you watched any other good horror-y type TV shows, movies that you can recommend for the audience this Halloween?
If they haven't checked it out, and my parents actually turned me on to this one. It's called Evil.
Ooh.
And I can't remember if it's an NBC or CBS. I want to say it's CBS. Really good show. It's about a group of investigators for the Catholic Church in Boston. One is made up of a gentleman who is training to be a priest. The other is a female psychiatrist who has worked basically for prosecutors and defense attorneys on the criminal insanity of clients. And then there is a Muslim agnostic, doesn't believe in God, doesn't believe in Allah, doesn't believe in anything spiritual, but they are the team that the Catholic Church has put together to start investigating supernatural occurrences. Very, very well-written series. First season ran on CBS. Second season was streaming on the CBS platform. But a really good show obviously deals with the nature of evil and what that implies and fighting evil. And it's very, very well written. It's very tongue-in-cheek. There's a lot of comedy to it, especially the main antagonist, who is basically a Satanist and Satan worshiper, but he's very, very, he's in the U.S. we have really, really sleazy car salesmen. I don't know what the UK has, Kev. I don't know what you guys have in the smart city over there, but he's just sleazy and slimy and smarmy, but he's funny. And the whole story plays really well, and the way that they're dealing with it, and because it does deal with the end times and what is taking place. One of my favorite shows right now is kind of in limbo, and Netflix is thinking about picking it up, called Manifest. Great show.
Oh, it's one of my favorites, dude. It's awesome.
Yes. Oh, that show is so good.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me a little bit of Lost. And Lost will always be one of my top 3 TV shows.
Yes, it's got that feel. It's also it's like the love child of Lost and the 4400, the original 4400 that premiered back in the late 90s, early 2000s. I know they brought the 4400 back on the CW as a reboot and as a revival, but yeah, this one it's so good. It is so good on so many levels, and I'm really hoping. There's talk about Netflix picking it up for a few more seasons, because originally the creator wanted it to have 7 seasons is what it was supposed to have to tell the full story. If Netflix doesn't pick it up for the additional seasons, then they're talking about doing a feature-length movie to actually wrap up all the mysteries. And I really want them to, because I'm sitting on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, they need to do something, man. I think I would prefer another season as opposed to a movie. I don't know, but
I would too.
I want to give a big shout out to Alfred out there in the chat room. Ex-RAF, I take my hat off to you, sir. Big salute to a fellow ex-serviceman. He was in a RAF base up here in Scotland, so he's enjoying the accent. Good to have you here, Alfred. And another observation from the chat room, and this is something I've thought about before as well, and I'll just get your thoughts on it. The word evil, it's live backwards. And I say we live in a world that is controlled by the language we use. Because what do we do with a word when we construct it? We spell it. It's literally a spell. It's a vibration. And maybe I'm still overthinking things, but when I see things like that, the reversals of words, we look at the phenomenon of things like reverse speech. Mind-boggling. I don't know what to make of it at all. My good friend Jimmy Jeans, he's really into it. What do you make of that when you see that live and then you turn it back to front evil? God,
I know.
dog.
It,
You know, it's...
dog,
Yeah.
yes. Yep. I'm gonna say, that's actually one of my favorite jokes is, have you heard about the insomniac, agnostic, dyslexic that lays awake at night wondering if there really is a dog?
I like it. I like it.
So I think I've always loved that. It's
That is
corny.
good. I'm stealing that, man. I'm stealing it.
You use it. Go with it. Well, I think, again, we're dealing with the English language. We have evil. The original word would be sinistro or sinister, which also, is a reference to being left-handed. So I think when we start translating, we start looking at words, we do impose our own belief system on a word. So like when, I always remember talking to people, we, in the Western Christian community, talk about Jesus Christ. Well, that's his name, but it's not his name. That's not what he would have been known as. His name, as Bill talks about it, was Yeshua Christos or Yeshua Mashiach. That was his name, not Jesus Christ. These are all random letters that we have strung together to make sense to us. When I see the word live, though, and I see the word evil, that pretty much is human nature.
Yeah.
If you believe in
I honestly still think
original sin.
I honestly still think we're in hell. I think this is like hell when you think of it. It's suffering. That's what you see in life, right? Suffering.
It is.
If we're not in hell, it certainly seems like the dark side has control.
Well, and I think, in a previous role in my life, I served as a minister, and that was one of the questions I got a lot. If there is a good, loving, powerful, benevolent being, then why so much pain? Why so much negativity? And the scripted answer that we give, and I do think there's truth to some degree. You can't appreciate a sunrise unless you've been through the night. You can't appreciate a rainbow unless you've seen the storm. We have to see the evil in order to see the beauty. We have to see that. We have to experience the pain, and we have to experience the hurt in order to truly appreciate the positive on the other side of it. And that's somewhat of a corny sales pitch, but I think it's true.
No, it's very, very well put. Very well put. And do you think at this time of year, Travis, then, do you think there's an uptick in the paranormal activity, the darkness, and to go hand in hand with that, do you think that there are groups, secret societies, and I'm not talking about the ones we've all heard about online, but do you think there's an uptick in that kind of activity this time of year as well? Or do we put weight into that because we've been programmed by Hollywood to think that way?
I think we've been programmed. I think that activity takes place year round.
Yeah.
by those groups. It's funny. I went 2 weekends ago. Wasn't this weekend? Wasn't last weekend. I went with a paranormal group to do an investigation at a Civil War battlefield here, and it was the 160th anniversary of the battle itself, and it was a waning full moon, and it's close to Halloween, so everybody just thought there was going to be all kinds of activity, because the week before they had done an investigation, and there had been. A friend of mine who is a total skeptic came face to face with a full body apparition Union soldier and communicated with him.
Wow.
Weekend I went, we spent 2 hours out there. We didn't get squat. There was nothing.
Isn't that always the case, man? Isn't it? Unless you go to Boleskine House, which produces...
or
all year
Lake
round.
State Hospital.
Yeah, big time, dude. I mean, that place has got to be really experienced to be believed. But then again, you're a guy that's been to a location that's had an effect on you, so maybe I don't have to explain it to you. But for people out there who haven't, like,
No.
it's horrid, right? It's like there's nothing like it.
No, and I went into it as an observer. I wasn't even really investigating. This was just something that happened while we were in Point Pleasant, and didn't think to take any precautions, didn't think about any ramifications, attachments, anything like that. But this most recent trip with the paranormal team to the Civil War battlefield, they're like, you don't ever talk. You don't ever try to engage spirits. I said, no. I said, because I did that once before, and it didn't turn out too well for me. I observe now. I went in with a prayer blessing. I came out with a cleansing blessing, and I made sure I anointed my forehead with holy water and holy oil before I even set foot on the site. I'm not going to do that again. That will not happen.
Yeah, I mean,
because much like you, my experience haunted me. I can't remember how long your oppression lasted, but mine was probably 2004, 2005 to about 2016. So about 12 years.
Yeah, I'd like to think I got rid of mine when Bill gave me my first deliverance, but I don't think these things shift easy. And there's a lot of people think it contributed to my spiral downward in health, and it could well have done. I can't prove that. I'm very open to it. But I still think there could be remnants, shadows of what got attached at Bleskin. And I giggle and I laugh because it's a nervous laugh. And I can only imagine this night, this time of year, there'll probably be, and I'm going to say it, lunatics at Boleskine House right now. And I say lunatics because you really don't know what you're messing with. And I wouldn't advise it to anyone to go there. And the fact that they're going to be teaching the work of Aleister Crowley in the coming months and years, that worries me, dude. I mean, that's a sign of the times, right? That's moving into the Aquarian age that Crowley would have loved.
It is. And Crowley, I mean, look, I'm open to a lot of things and a lot of beliefs, but Crowley was by far one of the most depraved, evil, sinister human beings to walk the earth. Probably, the only one that could overshadow him might be Hitler.
Yeah.
I can't say that name. I didn't use the other N word on this show, so
That's
we're
all
okay,
good.
right?
That's all good. That's all good. All good in the hood, man. But you're right. You're right. Self-styled to be the world's most evil dude, right?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And Kev, I actually am in front of a computer. If you want to try to dial me in on Skype.
Awesome.
I mean, I know we're running close to the end of the program itself.
Dude. That's okay, dude. I'll hang up on your phone and I'll reconnect you here. Give me 2 secs. I'll find the box.
Well, actually, we can stay. Hang on, let me see what's going on with my computer here.
Let's see. I think I can connect to you. Hang on. Let me see. Let me try and do this.
Tell you what, let's do hang up, and I'll just use my phone.
Let me try that, folks. Let me try that. We'll see if that works. Probably won't work now. We've probably just gone and scuppered everything, ladies and gentlemen. We've scuppered the lot. Hopefully it'll come through now. Okay, I'll try and call him again, folks. I'll try and call him again. We're doing it live, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, indeed. I want to thank you all for tuning in today. Awesome stuff. Really like Travis. Really, I dig his take on things. We're very alike. There he is. Is he there? Is his camera going to kick in? Are we going to see him in full HD? That's the question.
It should. It should kick in. I'm hoping it'll
Try and
kick in.
restart it. We can keep talking. We can keep talking while you're... There you are. I'll get you fitted in there. But yeah, where were we? Where were we?
We were talking about Boleskine House. We were talking about Aleister Crowley, self-styled evil genius that he was.
Yep. And then he handed over to L. Ron Hubbard, right?
Mm, yes.
No, or no, was it not Jack
no,
Jack Parsons, right?
Parsons. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I'm just
but
mixing my creeps up. Excuse me.
but see, I find it interesting that that location is still standing because Lake State Hospital, where I experienced my problems, that place has been razed to the ground. You can't even tell that there had been a building on that piece of property. And I'm actually very okay with that. I took my daughter and some friends of hers to Point Pleasant last year for her birthday. That was the one site I wouldn't take them to, even though I knew that the building still wasn't there. Because just because a building isn't there doesn't mean that evil is not still present. And there was no way that I was going to take them onto that piece of property.
No, you're absolutely right. And I mean, I remember laughing and joking with my family. My brother was there about sending Bill with the Warrior Angels. Laughing and
Mhm.
joking, and a week later you read that it's burnt to the ground for a second time. Now look, I'm not claiming anything, but I tell you what, it was that was a bit freaky, a bit close to home, if you like, you know.
Yep. And I don't doubt for a second that a lot of your health problems were not associated with that. I had my own health problems. Two of the individuals that accompanied me on those excursions had their health problems, financial problems, relationship problems. Once there is a spiritual attachment, especially a negative attachment, it will attack every aspect of your life. Any way that it can attack you, and actually divide you from those that care about you and can help you and strengthen you, it will do that in any form or fashion.
No, you're absolutely right there. And do you have any remnants? Do you still have anything going on now, or is it all clear, all good in the hood? No spooks hanging around the house.
I wish I could say it was 100% good in the hood, but like you, there are those. It's like stepping in gum.
Uh-huh.
On the bottom of your shoe, chewing gum, and you can get rid of it, but every now and then you'll take a step and you're like, man, is there gum on the bottom of my shoe still? Did I not get rid of it? There's those lingering things. Every now and then there'll be something that happens that shouldn't have happened, something that is just not quite right and really hard to explain, and it makes me wonder. Now, Bill's done 2 deliverances for me. The first one would have been 2016, I believe. I think it was the spring of 2016. The second one was not that very long ago, a few months ago, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I think I might need to go in for it's like an MOT. It's like getting your car serviced, right?
Right. It is. It's like, okay, I'm going to have to, from now on, I'm going to have to continue to do this. This is just the way that it's going to be.
Do you expect that the kind of spiritual warfare, the paranormal, the supernatural, to keep increasing and intensifying? And I say that on the back of a headline that came out the other day. It's something we've discussed before, but NASA are now calling for new ways to announce discoveries of alien life amid fears of misunderstandings. Now, they say there isn't some imminent announcement coming yet.
But there kind of is when they're calling for new ways to announce it.
So, I mean, are we going to get played with the whole last card, the alien threat, or is it going to be something we don't predict at all?
I think the alien threat agenda is coming. I think it's been coming for a while, and we're seeing more and more talk about it. So I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be very, very mundane and very downplayed because there's going to be this new impending threat, like you said, that we didn't see coming. And that's what we're going to be focused. We're trying to steer our direction off of this by making us focus on, there's aliens.
And people talk about Project Bluebeam, stuff like that. I think we've probably got enough of our own secret tech that we could fly it around and pretend to be and look like aliens. I also believe that it's very feasible. There may be real bona fide aliens heading in here. I don't know. It's the end times. Who knows what's going to happen, right? But
it's crazy.
I think, Travis, they would be able to easily convince enough of the public as to what's going on, whatever they want the public to believe, despite the raucous calls that come from alternative media. The
Yes.
increased attention. We've tried to point out that the fake stuff, false flags, the last card, Carol Rosen, that kind of stuff. Still, I feel enough of a consensus will believe whatever they're told by the mainstream, and then they can use it for X, Y, Z, right?
Oh, absolutely. If anything, from my standpoint, living in the U.S. For the last 4 to 6 years, I've been thoroughly appalled at how brainwashed the American people are to believe anything that they're told. And it doesn't matter what they're told, they will believe it. They could be told one thing by one news reporter and they would believe it. And at the 6 o'clock or the 11 o'clock news show, he could tell them something completely different and they would believe it.
Yep.
That's where we are. We believe we have a civilization, and that's worldwide, that likes to be spoon-fed information.
Do you think we'll see genuine contact in our lifetime? And I'm not talking about some leaked congressional document via a YouTube channel. I mean, like genuine alien contact.
Oh, I thought you meant intelligent contact. Because we're never going to.
Well, hopefully it's got to be more intelligent than us, right? Please.
I think that's yet to be seen. I think, going back to what we springboarded this discussion with, midnight mass and the unseen ones and the winged entities and things like that. I think we're getting close to a contact. Is that contact going to be little gray men, little green men? Is it going to be ultra dimensionals, as John Kill called them, interdimensional beings, as we've started using the term more and more? I think we're headed that way. I don't know. I mean, I'm 45, you're 45. We've got a few good years left on us. We might see contact of some kind.
It just feels to me with this whole moving into the space age, and maybe it's my love of sci-fi, confirmation bias, I don't know. I would be easy to dupe, by the way, if they go full blue beam, because I want to believe, and that's a horrible place to be, right? Because then I start making the information fit my preconceived idea, and that's what they want, right?
It is, but I'm with you. I mean, I can remember being a small child and, going through my science class and seeing the sun and Mercury and Jupiter and Mars and Earth and Saturn and Uranus and all the planets. And I'm going, well, then there's got to be life. We can't just be one planet out of 9 or 8, poor Pluto, that has life on it. There has to be life. And when you take into account the multiple universes and cosmos that there's out there, and the planets that we're discovering, and there has to be, at least I would think there has to be life. And I believe in God. I don't think believing in God and a higher power excludes belief in life on another planet.
No, absolutely. I'm the same as you. It's like I believe in simulation theory. I think it best explains in our language some of the stuff that's going on here. And I had some people initially saying, but I thought you believed in God now and all this, Kevin. You know how everyone's got to question everything, right? Because that's the way the world is now. For me, that actually backs the case for a God, because simulations didn't write itself.
No.
It didn't just spontaneously erupt out of nothing. So then you've got, call it a creator, call it a coder, call it an architect. I think we've got so many names for the same divine being that we all once came from.
Well, and I think, I have this really, really bizarre theological theory. And when I was working on my master's degree, this is the direction I wanted it to go in. And that's, I don't believe really that the world has ever been polytheistic. I don't think we've ever believed in multiple gods. I think language has allowed us to give different names to different names to the same God because he did different things. You have the god of thunder. Okay, well, that was, Zeus, that was Thor, that was Odin, that was Zeus, what was Zeus was Greek. Who was the Roman or was Roman? Crap.
Zeus definitely Greek, I think. Yeah.
Zeus is Greek. Who was I'm trying to think who the Roman god was, the primary god. So it's I think language has allowed us to refer to the same deity. I personally don't think that Native Americans worship anything different than what Judeo-Christians worship. They just call it the Great Spirit. I don't think that you were mentioning architect. Well, that's the term that the Freemasons want to use for God. They don't use any particular name for God. They just call him the Great Architect. And that at the end of the day, is that not what he is? He built, he authored, he coded, he created. So I think going back to evil, live, we get hung up on words a lot as human beings.
Absolutely, brother. Now, we're almost out of time. So let people know where they can follow you, anything you've got coming up, and then we're going to head out of here, dude.
As far as what I've got coming up, I guess Warrior Mode next Sunday with Bill Bean, Derek Stroman, Kev Baker producing. Anytime that Kev wants me, I'm always available. All he has to do is shoot me a message, just like this evening, and I'll make every effort to be here. Don't have anything planned right now. They can follow me on Facebook, Travis Shortt, 2 T's in short. You can find me on Twitter at Travis Shortt. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. All of those, TravisShortt.com. PhoenixPublicity.com and DarkWingsMothmanMovie.com. Those are the 3 websites that you can visit to get information on what's going on in my very, very small world.
I love having a small world, and I love having you as a part of it. And I'm wanting to thank everyone for tuning in today. Jimmy Jeans has usually been here in the background. This is my first week really doing it solo, but he's just informed me that we held number 2 on TalkStream Live. Yes, number 2, ladies and gentlemen. We'll take that number 1 next week, right? Tell everyone you know about KBSXtra right here on Aftermath FM every Saturday/Sunday. And it's really weird because over here in the UK now, I'm about to time travel because our clocks go back in 1 minute's time. So with that said, let me get out of here, folks. Let me try and play some music. Now, why isn't... Aha. There we go. We're out of here, folks. Catch you later. Coming up next, the Paradigm Shift on Aftermath FM.